And welcome to the Friday edition of Spotlight here on MX24 Television. My name is Nwong Falong. It's been a very busy week with different stories clamoring for center stage, from business to the economy to politics. All kinds of news. This evening, we are going to be speaking directly to these issues and hearing the views of some experts and also the journalists who carried these stories that dominated the airwaves and the screens. We're going to be speaking with them shortly. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come, we get right into the issues. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. The week started on a rather interesting note from the president's tour in the northern region, where he made some interesting comments concerning calls to reshuffle his ministers. It appears that some party members and the general public were not so happy with these comments. But let's take a quick listen to what the president said.
To reshuffle everybody. That is a matter that I will take in an appropriate way. But let me say it again. I know that people are making a lot of noise about this matter. But several of the people who are responsible for assisting me to steer the country out of the difficulties that we inherited and out of the difficulties that have subsequently come are still in place. And many of them, for me, have done an outstanding work. Their output has been considerable. And that's what I look at. There's an issue about reshuffle or the performance of ministers. It isn't as if it is something that every now and then my mind comes to. It's a daily preoccupation for me. I'm required on a daily basis to ask myself whether the output of particular ministers is up to the mark. I am on the final authority, and if they're not up to the mark, I'm required to act. But if the output measures the expectations, then I don't have any strong reasons to heed the call.
Interesting comments from the president there. I think he seems to understand the calls for reshuffling as a critique of the performance of his ministers. But if you listen to him, he makes it clear. Does their performance measure up to expectations? He thinks that their output has been outstanding work, considerable output, according to President Akufo-Addo. Is that what everyone thinks? We're going to be speaking with Justice Lee Adobo, who's a journalist with Xinhua News Agency. Also, Gordon Asari Bediako, managing editor of ABC News. Lordia Nunu, editor, Ghana News Agency. Evans Kujo, who's Eastern Regional Content Manager for MX24 Television. And Dr. Daniel Enim, who's an economist. For this one, I'd like to go to Dr. Enim first, because this borders directly on economic performance. And if you look at the economic indicators of the country, are we able to say that the president's ministers have indeed delivered outstanding work and considerable output, as the president puts it? And would that not reflect in the health of the economy? Or can we blame the deteriorating health of the economy on other factors that are not related to the persons in charge of affairs?
Thank you very much. I respectfully disagree with His Excellency the President, because if you are talking about performance should be visible, should be measurable, and we all know the current state of the economy. I must admit, though, that when he took over his first tenure of office, there has been some kind of significant improvement in the management of the economy in terms of the macroeconomic indicators. We have seen the economy growing, but I think complacency sets in along the journey. And once you are a leader and you realize that the performance of the team starts falling, you quickly have to realign and adjust. And I have always and repeatedly used President Kufuor's era as an example. You recall that when President Kufuor took over the power or the management of this nation, at the time where the nation went to epic, and quickly after his stabilizing the economy, he has to make some 1 or 2 changes because he was actually looking for growth. Okay, in this instance, we have seen repeatedly His Excellency maintaining the same team, and there has not been any significant adjustment or changes. And in recent time, we have seen the difficulty that the economy is going through. I must admit, though, that there are some external factors, but significantly, what is happening to us is as a result of internal management or mismanagement, so to speak. Or in other words, things that we failed to do or we couldn't do right, and that's the reason which we find ourselves in this particular economic mess. So for His Excellency to suggest and to say this, to make this audacious statement as it stands now, that his team are delivering and they are performing and doesn't see any need to change, I think that is quite unfortunate. This is visible, it's not speculative, it's something that we can measure. What is the state of inflation as we speak now? 31.7%. What's the state of your policy rate? What is the cost of borrowing from the financial institutions? And what is the state of your exchange rate? And these are critical macroeconomic indicators in assessing the health of any economy. We have seen the cost of living increasing and on a daily basis, and it seems that there's no solution to curtail what is happening. Look, we have said, the team have said repeatedly, one of the things that to me is a justification that the team is not up to tax in recent time have to do with the justification that will not resort to IMF. At the point they knew very well that things were not going right economically for this nation, and then there's a need for them to respond quickly, but they were giving us false hopes. So it's a fact. I must admit, just as I said at the beginning of his tenure, the performance was quite good, but complicity sets in, and then a lot of things were not going right. And probably they might have been giving His Excellency the President false impression about the state of the economy. And I'll respectfully use this platform to advise His Excellency, if I may, that I should probably have time and listen to the radio station and TV station and look at the sentiments of Ghanaians, and that will give him a clear indication that probably the kind of information or the kind of data being given to him by the team may not be the actual fact. Indeed, the team in these recent times have not demonstrated that they are in charge of the economy. And that is a fact, and His Excellency the President cannot run away from this fact.
So since they've not demonstrated that they're in charge of the economy, as you put it, would you say one of the changes that need to be made to put the economy back on the right track would be to reshuffle the ministers?
Definitely so. And I have indicated, I was very young when President Kufuor took over, but I knew very well that at the time where we went epic, I think Honorable Osafo Maafo was the Minister by then of Finance, where we stabilized the economy. When President Kufuor was looking for growth, he brought in the late Paredu to come and trigger the growth, and then Osafo Maafo was moved to another ministry. Okay, and we have seen several changes in his ministerial appointment. And then, in fact, moving people from one point to another doesn't mean that not necessarily the person is not performing. It gives the person the opportunity to assess the ministers. Maybe the person's strength may be at trade, not finance. The person's strength may be at labor, not this. So it gives you that opportunity. And to me, that is what is expected respectfully of His Excellency the President. In fact, when he appointed the minister, I recall vividly, I was interviewed by one of the sister stations. I don't know whether I can mention it's appropriate to mention the name. And I said that, look, the number of ministers that he has appointed, if it is for the sake of strategy, by way of driving economic growth, that should be okay. And I said that should be done for only 2 years. I mean, they ran it almost for 4 years until the time where all of us were calling that the ministers you have appointed are so many for the management of the affairs of the economy. Reduce it, which he has responded. Now we are saying that there's a need for him respectfully. We know he has the constitutional mandate to appoint ministers, of course, but at the end of the day, whatever happens to the economy affects all of us. And we are respectfully calling on him that he must do the needful by reshuffling the minister, bringing some new brains on board and giving them a sense of direction. It's just like a football game. You are losing the game and you are sitting at the bench without making tactical changes. I mean, you will not get it. So these things are, they are practical issues and they are not rocket science. And if you fail to do that, it will show. And that is what is manifesting now.
Dr. Nim, when you say tactical changes, let's assume the president decided to make certain changes to his ministers. Which key ministries do you think should be affected?
Yeah, number one, the Ministry of Finance. I mean, to me, I have supported His Excellency, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta when he was appointed because of his background and knowing him. I think I've realized that in fact there should be another man with a new approach to the economic engineering of this economy. So to me, finance, the finance, we should have to look at the Ministry of Finance quickly, and then to try and bring a new brain on board, and then another team, of course, to be able to align and then move the economy forward.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Nima. I'll be back to you shortly. The Ministry of Finance is a ministry that a lot of people have called for change within, especially in leadership of the ministry. Let me just go to Justice Adobo, who's a journalist with Xinhua News Agency. I want to find out from him if he supports the calls for the president to reshuffle his ministers, and does it even have any impact? Because there's some of the argument out there that it's not going to significantly change the structure of the economy or the direction in which the economy is going. Is changing, reshuffling the ministers anything that should be significant? Justice, also if you could just let me know if I got the name right with your news agency.
All right, so you do not even need to bring in my news agency because I'm not speaking here on behalf of my news agency. I'm speaking as a Ghanaian journalist. So my name is Justice Adoboy, and that is it.
Right. All right, please.
Yes, so for me, someone said that madness also means to be doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. And so change is a constant action in nature. So when you see that you are using an approach and that approach perhaps delivered in the beginning, but up to a point it is not delivering anymore, then you need to retool it. So a change is needed, whether it is by maybe changing the set of people managing the finance ministry, the finance and economy of the country, or there is, a very strong control from the economic management team from the top there, because the EMT is actually a presidential kind of commission headed by the vice president, who is supposed to be dictating the direction of the economy. And so that particular team should perhaps call the finance ministry and give them a new direction of the economy. So what am I talking about? I'm saying that you can do one of two things. Either you are reshuffling the Minister of Finance, or two, you look at his approach to economic management and you see the gaps in it, and then you order him, you sit him down and compel him to change the approach to doing things, and then then you can expect new results. So a change in a nature is expected at this time, the way things are going, but it might not necessarily be changing the person, but his approach. And if the fellow agrees to change his approach and let new thinking come into his management, style of the economy, then that can also work. So I am for either of them.
That's an interesting take there, a different approach, even if it's not reshuffling of the ministers. Justice is saying the EMT could be reconstituted. But let me find out from Laudia Nunu, who's on the line. I think I have issues with Laudia's line there. But let me just go to Gordon Asari Bediakon, who is managing editor of ABC News. Gordon, what do you think about, I mean, Justice is saying maybe approach it from reconstituting the EMT so the EMT can give a new direction to the Ministry of Finance. What would you think would be the appropriate way to tackle the performance of ministers? Or are you on the president's side when he says that there's been considerable output and outstanding work from these ministers? Sorry, Laudia, can you hear me? Hello, Laudia, are you there? I think, please unmute yourself because we can't hear you.
Yes.
Oh, great.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I thought you were talking with Evans.
Yes.
Maybe you can go over, yeah.
So what I was asking was, we're talking about the performance of the ministers. The president maintains a stance that these ministers have given out considerable work, outstanding output. Others are saying that he needs to reshuffle. Dr. Nim thinks a reshuffle is in order. And Justice was just telling us that there could be other ways of approaching the issue. There could also be a reconstitution of the economic management team. What do you think?
Okay, so I am also for the reshuffling. Yeah, the president have the right to tell us that he appointed them, all right, and that he knows the work that he has given them. But the issue is, even for the president to get the mandate to even appoint, it is the public that gave the president that mandate. So sometimes you also have to listen to the public. The other issue too is that if you are a manager of a company, so in this case, the president is our manager. There is nothing wrong when you assess your team. You must assess your team frequently. And as you assess them, you look at who is performing well, who is not performing well, and then you can redeploy. Redeploying doesn't mean that the person is not necessarily performing well. So in this case, the redeployment will be a reshuffle. So I think that the president must also sit up, listen to the people. I don't think that everybody who is talking doesn't know what they are saying. We have economists, we have experts, and then we have even the public. We are all complaining. I think for once, you can also listen to us, think about what we are also saying, look at the various sectors, and then do a reshuffle. I'm sure it will not be the first president or the last president who will do that. So, and then what also Justice said, I think he can also consider that, even if he doesn't necessarily want to reshuffle the team, because probably for political reasons, reshuffling his team, his opponent may then launch on it, and they say that, oh, we said it, his team, they were not working. So what he can do is, yes, he can also look at some of the policies, not only the policy, but also the implementation. Sometimes the policies are good, but the way they go about implementing it is the problem. So we will also plead with the president that even though, yes, he gave them the work, and then he can decide whether they are working well or not, he should also listen to some of our concerns and then address it for us as Ghanaians. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much. Laudia, still on the economy, let me just mention that also our economic woes seem to be coming from all fronts and seem to be deepening, especially with the recent downgrade from Fitch Ratings, which has further downgraded Ghana's economy to CCC after S&P Global's downgrade just a few days ago. Now, with these downgrades, where are we heading towards as an economy? What needs to be done to salvage the situation? And is this directly connected with the management of the economy? Does it require for the reshuffle to actually happen to make this possible? Let me go back to Justice. Let me just get a few words more from him there. Justice, what do you think about this downgrade of Ghana? I mean, there are some experts who believe that some of these Western agencies deliberately downgrade African countries to put us into a tough situation and make our investment in our countries unfavorable, which indirectly means it's going to favor Western countries. Do you think this has anything to do with what we're experiencing?
Those who make that assertion I would like to ask them, why is the downgrading not affecting other countries, but just those countries that have been downgraded? It means that there is something not going right with the economy. Now, I must admit that, yes, this is the period of global crisis that you were just emerging from COVID-19, and then this energy crisis, which actually we started seeing around December 2021, even before the Russian-Ukrainian crisis came in, because around that time, the cedi began to depreciate. So you began to see, high cost, of fuel, even before the Russian-Ukrainian crisis came in. Now, so I would not necessarily think that the rating agencies maybe were targeting Ghana and those other countries that they have downgraded. No, because in the past, these same agencies, gave us good rating that made us go to the global capital market and were able to raise, funding through Eurobond sales. And so if the same rating agencies today are downgrading us, then just as you received the positive, rating and you were gloating in it, then also you should accept the downgrading that they are doing. Because you see, Doc was talking about the beginning of the government and there was a performance. But we must not forget that the performance of the economy in 2017-2018 had already been projected by institutions such as IMF, the World Bank, etc. And they stated categorically that the investments that were done in the energy sector and then the energy crisis that was brought to an end at the end of 2015, some of these things were going to contribute to higher growth for the economy. And even the IMF has that, a growth rate of close to 8% for Ghana in 2017 and 2018. So, and I, as a person, the former World Bank country director, Kerala, I asked him when he was praising the growth of the economy, I asked him to tell me exactly the policies that were being implemented at the time in 2017 and 2018 to give us the growth. And he was not able to give me a concrete answer on this. So you realize that in 2017, 2018, thereabouts, sorry to say, the economy was on a kind of, autopilot because the foundational work had already been done. So if you gave it to anybody, those things would have worked, to support the good growth rate that we got in those years. And so coming forward, that was what I was talking about when I said that maybe the policies we are implementing now are what we should be taking a second look at. What policies gave us the growth rate that we saw? What policies anchored, inflation? What policies ensured that our debt was sustainable at the time? What policies ensured that our foreign exchange, was not depreciating at the time? Let's go back to those policies and look at them. Because when you look at the downgrading we are seeing today, they are just in line with the free fall of the cedi that we are seeing. They are just in line with it. And so if anybody is blaming the global rating agencies for perhaps targeting Ghana, that is a far-fetched, analysis the fellow will be doing, because the same rating agencies had given us positive ratings in the past. And then we enjoyed, the glory of it, we enjoyed the benefits of it. And if today they are saying something particularly wrong, significantly wrong with the economy, and they point it out, I don't think that they've done any wrong. They are just trying to correct us.
Right. Thank you so much, Justice Adobo. Very compelling points there from Justice Adoboy. Let me just go to Dr. Nim with the same questions on the economic front. Dr. Nim, with what Justice was just talking about, do you think we should be taking a second look at how these agencies rate the country, or should we just accept the ratings without challenging them?
Yeah, if we want to challenge, there should be a basis for the challenge. So, for instance, now that we downgraded CC, we should be able to tell them that, look, inflation is within target, fiscal gap or fiscal deficit is within target, our revenue is within target, expenditure is within target, our exchange rate is within target. Why the downgrading? Okay, so there should be justification why you disagree with something. But as it stands now, it is evidently clear that we're missing on all these indicators, of course, and these are the indicators that were used in assessment, okay? And once your macroeconomic fundamentals are not showing positive signs and then you have received a downgrade, and I don't think there's any justification for that. However, probably, maybe, probably the way the whole thing has been was communicated at the time where we're knocking at the doors of the IMF would be a subject for discussion, but not too strong a point, to use it to justify why the downgrading. I agree with my colleague who just spoke that the same rating agencies, at the time they were rating us B+ with positive outlook, we're happy and we're making political capital out of that. And now that we have been downgraded, to me, if we have any justification that, oh, look, our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong, they are doing very well, why this downgrading? Then we can have a very informed analysis of the issues. Then all of us can, talk about it and we'll ask them questions. But as it stands now, the economy is in shambles, so to speak. And our macroeconomic indicators are weak. They are not doing very well. Things are not good for us as we speak. We're knocking at the doors of IMF. If you recall, initially we were looking at around $1.5 billion from IMF. Now we're looking at $3 billion. That is to tell you that things are not really good on the ground. We need this so much inflow into the economy to be able to align and balance so few things. But that is also not to suggest, I know for fact, that this multinational administrative organization may have certain hidden agenda in terms of the way they trigger information and analysis of data for a particular purpose. But as it stands now, my point is that what they put out there actually reflect or manifest the reality on the ground in respect of our domestic economy.
Right, Dr. Nim, we've also had a call by the Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable Abena Osei-Opare, who is saying that all Ghanaians need to come on board to help change the situation of the economy. Is this the appropriate reaction from government, and how significant is the role of the ordinary Ghanaian in moving the economy back to the right track?
I kind of agree with her, but they must show and demonstrate leadership. Okay, on our own, we will not just wake up and say we are supporting. They must show that leadership, and the way to show that leadership is by a dialogue. I have called for that right from the beginning, a consensus where you invite all stakeholders, people from the other political parties. They provide their economists, economists like us, people from academia, CSOs and the like, so that we can have deliberation on the state of the economy and then the way forward. Okay, to me that should be the first step. And then I think I understand where she might be coming from. Our support therefore is, okay, that when we introduced the e-levy, so many people were not in tune. We all know the genesis of this e-levy. So what citizens can now do in terms of helping government to mobilize more revenue is that they will subscribe to electronic transfer, more importantly, the Momo transactions. So when the citizens started, doing that, and government begin to mobilize resources, that is one of the ways that the citizens can do to support government. Another aspect is that about the sacrifice, is about organized labor. Organized labor may say, no, government, we understand what you're going through. Things are equally tough and difficult for us, but we will hold on to any attempt to ask for increases in our salaries and other remunerations. So to me, these are some of the things that citizens like us, we can do to support the system. But there again, to be able to achieve that, it calls for leadership. And the leadership must drive that conversation, must trigger that kind of passion, and must win the sympathy of the citizens. If you don't do that, you don't expect the citizens on their own, because things are in a very difficult times. Things are very difficult. And as much as I agree with her, these are some of the things that they ought to do to be able to move the citizens along the journey.
Right, Dr. Nim, that's an interesting comment. I don't think Labour is going to agree with you on that point, though, because we've had these conversations with them, and their posture has always been that they do not see a reason to be sympathetic, because the policies and government's posture hasn't always been in their favor. They do not see what exactly is in their favor, such that they should make such compromises. But before I let you off on this particular topic, what exactly do these ratings mean? I have a comment online asking us, CCC, someone says it's junk status, CCC from B-. What do you mean junk status? It's very alarming to read a word like that in relation to our economy.
Look, it's just like in academia. When we are assessing students, we have a grade or grading system where we have A for excellence, B, depending on the institution. Others also have A minus, B plus, and minus, and then the like. Just to try to define and categorize the performance of students into a particular class, right? Same thing applies to these rating agencies. And when you are in the A, which means your economy is that good, that robust, and then resilient, and is doing so well, creating opportunities for the citizens. They have the B plus with a positive outlook, means that things are likely to trigger in the favor of the economy. But when you move into an area of C, according to these rating agencies, what it means is that the state of the economy is in such that investors should be careful about the economy. The investors should tread cautiously in dealing with the economy. So there are two implications. One, if today the finance minister decides to go to the capital market to borrow, he may not get the expected amount. That is one thing. Secondly, because we have been downgraded to the C category, what it means is that as a nation, we'll find it difficult to meet our repayment obligation as and when they fall due. So investors may shy away from Ghana and say, let me go invest my money elsewhere in another economy with maybe B minus positive outlook, or let me go and give my money to another economy with a B plus with a positive outlook. So these are the implications. So it puts the nation to a very difficult situation. So in an unlikely event where, let's assume, this is our scenario, let's assume that IMF pull out finally, that is, Ghana having assessed you ABCD, we may not be able to help you this year, but next year. Then the only option for the finance ministry or the government, so to speak, is to resort to the capital market, and we may not get a good deal because of these ratings that are forthcoming. I only hope that our negotiation with the IMF will be facilitated fast track, so that those inflows will come on board to be able to assist government to manage some of these issues that we have addressed.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Nim. Let me bring us back in studio, and let's focus on ECG and all the issues going on in Krobo. They have a serious impasse there between the ECG and the people, which has even affected the running of a hospital. That's the St. Martin de Porres Hospital at Agomanya in the eastern region. People are living in uncertainty. There's been a lot of effect on this prolonged power issues between the ECG and the Krobo area. Let me go to our reporter, who's Evans Kojo. He's on the line. He's our Eastern Regional Content Manager. I'd just like him to give us an update on this particular issue. Evans, this has been in the news for weeks, the issues between this area and the ECG specifically. What is the present situation there? Has there been a definite solution? Has there been understanding between the two parties? What is the power situation?
Well, thank you so much, and then good afternoon to our cherished viewers. Currently, the Krobo land, or the people of Krobo, are still in darkness. What they are agitating right now has nothing to do with the introduction or the installation of the prepaid meters, but they are rather protesting the fact that the Electricity Company of Ghana has admitted that the billing was an error. which emancipated from their own system. But the ECG or the company are still insisting that the people of Krobo pay the bill within a period of 5 years. That is what the people of the Krobo land are protesting currently, and it has nothing to do with the introduction or the installation of the new prepaid meters. A series of meetings have been held between the leadership of these two group of residents. That is the people of Lower Manya and then Manya Krobo. They are the two group of residents being affected by this whole issue. So that has been the issue. They've held a series of meetings, and then information reaching me also indicates that very soon they'll be holding a press conference to tell the whole world what they are up to. So currently, the people in Kubu are still in darkness.
Evans, what is the reason why they're pushing back against the repayment of this debt? What are they proposing instead?
Well, what they are proposing currently is the billing that the company brought to them. They did not use or they have not used the power up to that tune of amount they want them to pay. So what they are calling right now for is the whole bill should be cancelled, then they begin everything new or afresh. That is what they are protesting now. So
they want to write off the whole bill.
Please come again.
They want to write off the bill.
Exactly, because the company, the electricity company of Ghana, cannot come out with the exact amount or the exact bill that people have to pay. So whatever bill they have sent to the residents, according to the ECG, was a mistake they made. The ECG has admitted it was a mistake. So if the ECG or the electricity company of Ghana will be able to come out with the exact bill for the people, they are ready to pay. So until they are ready to or they are willing to come out with the exact bill, they will keep protesting.
What about the hospitals, Evans? We've had some interesting news about hospitals almost shutting down and critical services not being functional in hospitals due to the blackout. Is this affecting the hospitals seriously?
Exactly. These two municipalities or assemblies have got about 4 different health facilities. Just as you mentioned earlier, we have the India Government Hospital and then St. Martin de Porres Hospital, together with some other hospitals. All these hospitals, as I speak to you now, depend solely on plants or generators. And you can imagine the amount of fuel that they would need to run the facility on generators or plants. So some of these hospitals have started sending messages to families who have deposited their dead relatives in their various mortuaries to come and then carry them and transfer them to a different facility, because running a whole mortuary on a plant or a generator is costing them a lot. I spoke to one of the medical superintendents of these facilities, and they were like, running a plant for a whole week is costing them about 3,000 to 4,000 Ghana cedis a week, of which they are financially weak. I don't know, or they do not know how long they will continue running the facility on a plant. So majority of the hospitals have started discharging dead bodies, and then they are not receiving or allowing families to deposit their dead bodies in the facility. Most of the bodies in the facility have even started going bad. So that has been one of the major facilities. So you can imagine a hospital facility that would need to attend to patients with some equipment and then other machines that needs to run on electricity. It has become a problem. Yeah.
Right, thank you, Evans, for that update. Let me come back here and speak to Laudia Nunu, editor of the Ghana News Agency. Laudia, look at the situation between the Krobo people and the ECG. Can we say the people of Manya Krobo are just being excessively difficult, or is the ECG not speaking their language?
Okay, so I would like to add some things to what Evans said.
Okay.
So I have followed this ECG issue since it started. I think somewhere in 2009 it started. What happened was that according to the ECG, some shared meters, where that is a self-help electrification project, So some shelf meters were introduced into their system at the Krobo district, okay, and without the knowledge of the ECG. So what happened was, finally, when they realized that their systems were not capturing it, they decided then to bill the people. And in billing the people, it coincided with a national program where they were introducing a new billing system. So with that, it overbilled the people. They raised several issues. There were some time that they even went to the Somanya office to go and vandalize things. They raised issues. There have been several meetings, like Evan said. Finally, then they decided to ring-fence some of the bill. The ring fencing means that they cancel some. So instead of paying, let's say, if it is 8 years, they canceled some and then they left some. The one that they left, initially they were saying that the people of Krobo, they were giving them 3 years to pay in installments. Then they later came back to say that they are giving them 5 years. And with the 5 years, they actually called the people to come. So they are not dealing with them as one group. They are dealing with them as customers. So they invited the customers. I have been to a number of their stakeholders meeting, okay, where they said that they want the customers to come to them with their bills so that if they have a problem, then they will reconcile it. Then after reconciling, they will then decide that, okay, let's come to a compromise. I want to pay one cedis every day, so the next 5 years, or I want to pay fully and all that. Now, the other issue that I have with all this is, this is not the first time that they switch off their feeders. In December, a similar thing happened. ECG actually switched off the feeders to the town. And then under ECG district, Krobo district does not only cover Yilo Krobo and then the Manya, it also stretches all the way to Juapon. So they then moved their offices from the Somanya. They relocated their district head office from Somanya to Juapon, so that if you want to you have anything to do with ECG, you go to Juapon instead of going to Somanya. Later, then they restored the light. Now, with this one, I am also thinking that it seems the people are not really understanding the whole issue. Because when you go to the stakeholder meeting, for instance, they normally do not meet all the people. They meet some reps. And then there are some particular youth groups, like the United Krobo Front, who normally do not attend the stakeholder meeting, okay? And then they have issues with these meter things. So I am thinking that maybe ECG also needs to re-look at its communication strategies. It means that what they are doing currently, it is not working. So if it is not working, they need to re-strategize. Because, I mean, we cannot stay in a town where a whole group of people are fighting with ECG, and ECG too has taken an entrenched position. So they have taken an entrenched position. The people too have taken an entrenched position. Now, the problem is that when two elephants are fighting, we all notice the grass that suffer. And in this case, hospitals that are there, the workers, I don't think every health worker in Krobo is a native of Krobo, where they will have to suffer. Neither do I think that it is only Krobo natives that will be sent to the hospitals. It is not so. Now, we also have students in the town who are also preparing to write their final exam. We are punishing them unduly. So my issue is that even if we cannot restore all the lights for all the people, why can't we do it in a way that maybe the schools and then the hospitals can have the lights, so that they can then be able to go about their normal duties? I think that will help. With the issue of the prepaid meters, I think that one too need proper education. You see, the people got offended because UCG brought in the soldiers to come and help. Even though UCG also explained that the soldiers were not there to intimidate them, but actually they were there to also perform their duties, to help the UCG engineers to install the meters. But that rather backfired. I am thinking that ECG, both ECG and then the regulator, that is a PURC, and then other stakeholders must all come together and then draw a proper communication plan. Get down to the level of the people. Speak with them in the language that they understand, and then explain the issues better. Let them know, yes, this was the issue, but we have cancelled some. I have spoken with some of them, and the word ring fencing, they do not understand. You see, it is too huge a word for them. But the moment I explained that, oh, they are saying that they have actually cancelled this number of years, but we didn't know. So it means that we need to re-strategize, we need to change our communication plan, and then we let it work. And this is not only ECG or Krobo, it is something that cuts across all initiatives, mostly because a company decide or government decide that this is what we are doing. You see, the same thing happened to the e-levy. This is what we are doing. Whether you like it or not, we will do it. Why can't we involve the people right from the beginning, right from the planning, and then educate them, let them buy into it? The moment they buy into it, you see that there will be no problem. So this is my take.
Very interesting take there. Hopefully ECG is listening and they can be able to communicate the terms down to the understanding of the common people in Krobo, instead of just those, who speak, like Laudio is saying, some of the words are too big for them to understand. But it seems ECG has actually tried to meet them halfway by cancelling some of the debt, which is a good thing. But do they even understand what that translates into for them? But let's move on. It appears the special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin, has stepped on some toes in the discharge of his duties. We're going to be looking at the issues that got the commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to fire back at the special prosecutor over what has come to be known as the La Bianca report. Now, let me just go on to that. There's been a report by the Commissioner of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, that's Colonel retired Kojo Damwa, has some strong words for the Office of the Special Prosecutor, who has implicated his office in corruption-related acts involving La Bianca Company Limited. And now the Customs Division Management Retreat in Kumasi recently, we had Mr. Damwa saying that the report is hollow and there's nothing to it. And he also indicated that there's underlying friction between him and the special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin. He says, and I quote, "I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy and I'm older than him." This is one of the comments that has created a lot of debate, how such issues should creep into national discourse. But let's go to the line. We have Gordon Asari-Bediakun, who's managing editor of ABC News. Gordon, we had issues getting a hold of you, but thank you for joining us. Let's just go to this particular issue quickly and find out how we see the reaction of Mr. Damwa to this attempt, his reaction to the special prosecutor. Is it in line of his work? Is it in line with what he has to do? Or is it an attempt to gag the special prosecutor, as some people say?
Thank you very much. First of all, my apologies for joining you late. For that, it's very interesting. But my disappointment would be that
right.
I think Colonel Damwa shouldn't have reacted the way he did. Because even if it was a commission of inquiry that was even set up and indicted you, there were processes that you have gone through. Either you go to High Court to set it aside or whatever. But the way he went on to speak about it publicly and all the expressions that I'm older than you, and it is neither here nor there. That's not the crux of the matter. So I disagree with the approach that is used. But coming to the crux of the matter in terms of what the report says, in terms of what the report says,
right?
For me, the report, I'm not sure the report indicts anybody. The report really doesn't indict anybody. And so, yes, because I've read the report, and I'm saying that all what the report sought to do, and the conclusion of the report was that it was all about discretionary powers used exercised by an officer of GRA. If the special prosecutor had an issue with how the discretion was exercised, he could have handled in a better way than to go ahead the way he did and then virtually indicting somebody or virtually indicting people within the report. But for me, if you read the report, there's not a single shred of evidence to indict anybody.
Right.
Neither the lady nor Damoa or the other person. It doesn't indict anybody. Because all what the report said was that influence peddling, the fact that the lady is a Council of State member and she's also a board member, it means she used her influence to more or less force it down the throat of the officer.
Right.
Yes. But you see, if you read the report itself said the woman requested value reduction between 50 and 80% reduction. That was what the woman applied for. But she wasn't giving 50%. She was giving between 5 and 10%. So if I'm requesting for between 50 and 80%, and I'm giving 5 or 7 or 8 or 10%,
right,
and you are still accusing me of influence peddling, hold on, I can't take it.
But is it influence peddling or not? Because there was some amount of reduction that was given. I should mention for the benefit of our viewers that the focus of this story has been on Council of State member Madame Eunice Jacqueline Boa Asamoahene, who owns La Bianca Company. She's also a member of the Board of Directors of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. She's been accused of allegedly influence peddling.
I don't know if you can spare me about 5 minutes. I can
please do,
rush
yes,
to my car, okay, and then read to your hearing similar reductions enjoyed by people in the industry.
Okay.
2018, 2019. You understand what I'm saying? So, where is the criminality? Is it not doable?
So you're saying she was well within her rights to have applied for that reduction and received it?
Yes, right. And see, there's not a single sort of evidence to show that, the woman applied, we didn't approve, by she threatened somebody. All the people who appeared before the investigators, none of them said the woman used her influence. None of them said it. Rather, they based their decisions on existing rules.
Right.
So, yes, so wherein lies the use of influence? Just a minute, because for me, the OSP himself or the office failed to adduce evidence to support their conclusion.
But Gordon, yes, they have since recovered 1 million cedis from La Bianca.
That's very interesting. You see, the moment that thing is done, I'm sure the lawyers will say that the moment you agreed to pay something, it means you are
isn't that a bit of a proof of guilt over there?
Yes. That one I won't debate it. But somebody will say, well, I want my peace of mind. So if this is what you see, I say I've done wrong, take it. Right. It does not necessarily mean that I'm guilty.
Thank you very much, Gordon.
Because by the report,
the
OSP couldn't mention any law that the woman breached.
Right.
No law anywhere. Look, I have, this is a letter, 6th February 2018, from GRE to all frozen food importers. Frozen Food Importers Association, Accra, Tema, Takrady. Yes, sir or madam. Graduated valuation vis-a-vis benchmark values for frozen goods. Please be informed that with effect from Tuesday 13 February 2018, the following graduated valuations are applied to frozen foods imported into the country, relating to the quantum of the consignment per shipment and the value per kilogram vis-a-vis the benchmark value. Okay? Then says manifested consignment up to 20 containers. A percentage reduction in benchmark value, 5% reduction. Above 20 containers, 8% reduction. Above 40 containers, 12% reduction.
Right.
Okay, this is 2018. I have here 20 February 2018. A letter written from GRA to White Capital Foods Limited. Application for graduated valuation vis-a-vis benchmark values. The company was granted 12% discount.
Right.
I've gone.
Thank you, Gordon. We're almost out of time.
White Capital Foods. This one, yes. I have La Bianca, acceptance of values.
Right.
I have Perez Frozen Foods Limited. Okay? So if the OSP is challenging the use of discretion,
thank you, Godwin.
You cannot use your discretion capriciously.
Right.
Okay? If the OSP is able to establish the fact that the officer used his discretion capriciously, he should say it.
Right. Thank you so much, Gordon. Gordon, we're grateful for your input there. Gordon Asare-Bediakon is managing editor of ABC News. Justice, if you're on, I would just take your input for you to weigh in on this. In just 1 minute, please. Hello, Justice. If you're there, you can hear me. Just 1 minute. Okay, I don't think we still have Justice there. But we're very grateful to Justice Lee Adoboy, who is a journalist. We had Gordon Asare-Bediakon, who you just heard from, managing editor of the ABC News. We also spoke with Madame Lordia Nunu, who is editor of the Ghana News Agency. Evans Kujo, our Eastern Regional Content Manager here at MX24 Television, and Dr. Daniel Enim, an economist. We're very grateful for the time spent here on Spotlight this evening. And to you at home, on behalf of the entire production team here at MX24 Television, we're very grateful for your time. Do have yourselves a fantastic weekend. See you on Monday at 5 p.m. My name is Nuong Falong. Good evening.
I see the glory of God.
Prepare for a Holy Ghost encounter as Ohima Mercy Ministries and Outreach, in partnership with Soul Brother Records and ICGC Calvary Temple, present Tabiata Healer Experience 2022. Theme Clouds of Glory, the very best of Ohima Mercy and Friends at the 9th edition of the Healer Experience. Featuring Benjamin Dube from South Africa, Lebo Segobela, South Africa, MOG, Pastor Isaiah, Kofi Pepra, F.A. Grace, Joe Metal, Akase Brimpong, CC Chu, Rama Enchi, SK Frimpong, Mr. M Revelation Nigeria, with ministration from Ohima Mercy. Sunday, 14th August at ICGC, Calvary Temple, Sakumono Spintex from 4 p.m. sharp. Proudly brought to you by Tabia, sponsors, media partners. Admission is free. Tabiata Healer Experience. Come experience praise and glory of our Lord. Clouds of Glory.